Today's reading is an entry from the monster encyclopedia, Abaddon. Daughter's birth by the bug demon lord Abaddon Queen, who is said to have nearly devoured the world in antiquity by weaponizing their limitless appetite and fertility. For the longest time, it was believed that they had been wiped out by the heroes of that era. However, when the world split open and the sound of the trumpets of demise rang out, from it emerged countless Abaddons, so it has been established that in actuality they had not been completely killed off, but they instead had been sealed deep underground in a dormant state. They have an imposing presence with large, powerful frames, and when they take flight, the sound of their wings is enough to shake the heavens. Their superior flight capabilities, incongruent with their physique, allows them to instantly swoop down on their prey and capture them by embracing them in their two pairs of shell-covered arms. It seems they used to have to constantly consume prey to maintain their enormous bodies, and perhaps as a vestige of that, human men who end up as their prey will be violated with an abnormal degree of hunger and reproductive desire. Abaddons are the monsters that form these swarms. What's more, each Abaddon is accompanied by countless soldier bugs, or the Abaddon folk. They say that these swarms can sometimes become so immense as to cover or blot out the very sky itself. Their bodies constantly giving off overwhelming pheromones which not only act as a powerful stimulant for male reproductive instinct, but also used to command their swarms. Additionally, they also invigorate soldier bugs, altering their bodies and minds into a state specialized for reproduction. A swarm commanded via pheromones becomes particularly like one gigantic, writhing mass in the sky that will descend upon towns and villages in pursuit of large numbers of their prey, human men, at which point all they will do is repeatedly engage in feeding and reproductive activities. Depending on the enormity of the swarm, not only towns and villages, but also entire medium-sized countries could also be easily devoured. In the lands attacked by them, it is said not a single unmarried man remains. Currently, the only reason why they haven't completely devoured the world is that each and every one of them is devoted to only feeding on one man for life, since they too are monsters. Because of how they look and the way they firmly seize their prey and lay into them with everything they have during intercourse, it tends to be thought that they are ferocious and aggressive in temperament. But as a matter of fact, they don't actually act aggressively towards their prey or behave in an overbearing manner. On the contrary, they are very quiet and somehow give off a spacey vibe. What fundamentally drives them in the end is a limitless appetite rooted in their instinct and a passion and reproductive desire, which became linked and fused when they assumed their current form. For that reason, they're always horny, and they certainly are aggressively passionate to the point that they will immediately breed with their husbands if he is in front of them but with that passion and reproductive desire, doesn't heat up or cool down from time to time according to their emotions. They are not a thing of that nature. The Abaddons used to have an ecology that required them to keep consuming prey to survive, and even now they have the same kind of ecology, or in other words, their mode of life is to keep preying on their husbands, and to make that possible, they are innately endowed with a reproductive drive that is constantly maintained at a high level and never settles down. In other words, rapturous breeding is as normal to them as breathing is for us, and to them, it's a natural desire and natural behavior in a normal state of mind. While not especially aroused or hungry, for that reason, despite the intensity of the sex, they aren't ferocious in temperament, and when they look at their husband with narrowed eyes as they hold him in their arms, on the contrary, one can even sense something gentle. Furthermore, due to their peculiar mental structure, satisfaction and temporary relief of the urge to reproduce following sex is simply absent in entirety, because they gain satisfaction during the act, not from it.